Yeah. Spider. Yeah.
Alright guys, welcome. Today's video I'm pretty much going back to a how-to video where I showed you guys last time how I edit using Lightroom. The shoot I did was at the privacy of the model's home, so I didn't record in there. But I did find a shot that we're going to go ahead and edit here, and I'm just going to show you guys how I do it using Lightroom. Alright, so we got the photo here. As you guys can see, there's no before and after this time, so I'm going to show you guys just the photo as it is right now, raw, straight out of the camera, and go ahead and tweak it a bit. So as I told you guys before, what I usually start with is the profile, changing that over to landscape. For whatever reason, that was already changed to that. So landscape is usually what I set as the profile, just because it gives it more pop right off the bat, as you guys can see. Yeah, so from here, geometry, usually I level this if it ever looks crooked to me. Photo does look pretty straight for me, so I'm pretty sure I don't need to level it. Let's just see what it does. As you guys see, didn't really level it correctly, so just gonna undo that. Optics, again, sometimes this is automatically checked, but usually I go ahead and check both of these just to give it that lens correction. As you guys can see, if it's not corrected, it looks like this versus it being corrected. Again, that kind of gives it a little more of a pop too. So that's pretty good. So details, I usually just sharpen the image a bit. Probably gonna leave it at 90. Don't really try to aim for 100. Might just be a little too sharp. So 90, and then also adding in a little bit of noise reduction just to make it, not too sharp or not too grainy at all. So noise reduction, again, usually around 20. If there's ever a case where I need more, I would do it. With this one, looks perfectly fine at about 21, 2120. So texture, usually I just increase that maybe to like 1, 2, or 3. Again, this is kind of contrasting the sharpness where, they both kind of affect the image the same. So texture, I usually just maybe add that to about 1, 2. Don't want to make it too sharp. Clarity, kind of the same. Again, it kind of just gives the image that sharpness or clarity, as it says there. So with clarity, again, usually just play with that around 1 or 2. Dehazing, I usually, again, just like the previous ones, mark that to about 1, 2. Vignetting, I usually don't touch, and grain, I usually don't touch as well. Before we get into the coloring, just again trying to making sure as far as like the lighting, I usually touch those first. So lighting, exposure looks decent. I might just bump it up a little bit just to see how that looks. Yeah, not too bad, just because it's kind of catching a little bit more of the shadows here, just brightening that so we can see the eyes a little bit more. Contrast, don't really touch that. Highlight, again, that's one I play with. I did use a flash on the shoot, as you guys can probably see. So with the highlights, I'm just going to mess with it, see how I kind of want it. Yeah, so 25. Give the flowers a little bit of a pop. Not too overexposed, but as far as the image, looks pretty good. Now I know the shadows is probably going to give the hair a little more details. As far as like the darker side of the hair. So as you guys can see, just gonna tweak that a bit. Yeah, I'm actually gonna raise it just because I like how it's making the overall image look. And then usually when I see, because of the hair, it's a little too visible, I guess you could say. I'm just gonna dial down the black. So as you can see, that's gonna kind of get the hair back to how I would like for it to look. Yeah, so -10. Let's do it before, after, before, after. And then before and after just from the original image. Big difference already. Yeah, so a lot of details here in the shadows now that I kind of did the little changes that I did where, shadow, exposure, highlight, and even just the lens correction. White, usually I play with that if I'm just not liking the overall exposure, but again with this image it pretty much looks good right off the bat, so Don't have to play with that too much. Lighting looks good so far. Let me just go down, make sure. All right, didn't have to play with this. Everything else is fine. So now we're gonna just jump over to coloring. With coloring, as you guys know, I usually like my images more on the cooler side. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it right around there. Tint, usually don't touch too much. Kind of do like that green side. I think I'm just gonna leave it as is. Vibrance, again, just depending on how the image looks. Just based off of this image, it already popped a little bit, so probably gonna be around 10. Saturation, I usually don't touch. Again, the vibrance kind of does the same thing, but the saturation aims for like the warmer colors. And as you guys know, I'm more so of the cooler. So I usually don't touch the saturation at all. As far as the color adjustments, usually don't touch red unless I need to pop it, which for these, I might want the flowers to pop a little bit more. And I think it's popping her shadows and even her cheekbones. Yeah, some makeup there. So yeah, it does look a little bit better with some pop there. So about 45 is where I'm going to leave it. Orange, don't touch at all, just because again, it's going to affect the skin. Yellow, because the flowers, I'm going to leave that. Probably give it some pop as well. That's about fine. Green, so because we have the leaves and also the chair, so yeah, I'm gonna give it a little bit of pop as well. 20 looks decent. 33 looks fine. All right, so with the teal, that's really gonna affect the jeans in the image. I usually move the teal over to blue and then kind of move the blue over to a little bit more teal. So it looks like that's the approach I'm gonna do. And then the blue back over to some teal. So we have the teal, we have the blue. I think the blue is pretty much fine. Don't want to pop that too much. Yeah, it looks fine like that. This purple color here, don't really see it affecting anything. I may just leave that as is. And then also the pink. All right, I think that's good for the color mixer. Now the color grading, as I told you guys last time, I've been playing with this a lot more. So with this one, either my shadows is blue, because I usually do the orange teal effect in most cases or most photos. Indoor is a bit different, it looks like, because it's definitely going to affect the shadows. And again, the highlights, I either choose the shadows either going to be blue, the highlights is orange, or the highlight is orange and the shadow is blue. So with this one, let's see what I want to do actually. All right, so we're set to orange. And it kind of brings it back to that warmer side, but I think the highlights is going to help us get it back to the cooler side as well. All right, I think we're good here. And we can kind of pop it a little bit. Yeah, it's looking a lot better when I brighten it a bit. All right, midtones. Usually I don't touch this too often, but we'll just see what we can do with it with this image. So far, I'm really only noticing it in the jeans. I mean, I see it everywhere else, but really in the jeans. Yeah, so it looks a bit better just with the little that I did. The blending, that's something else I would play around with just to see. I think about 65 is just about right. So everything regarding lighting and coloring looks pretty much decent. Again, here's the before and here's the after. So with this image, we are going to get deeper where we're touching up the skin. I'm going to probably try to edit the background, make it smooth. Most likely not going to do it for all images just because it seems like that's going to take some time, but I'm definitely going to touch that up, see how it looks. But right now, I think as far as lighting and coloring, we should be good. So with this one, I usually use the hill instead of clone. Probably going to fast forward this. So All right, so I think I'm done with the healing brush. Yeah, I'm done with the healing brush. Let's move over to our regular brush where I'm just going to smooth out the skin a bit. I'm actually going to use this brush too to kind of play with the background. Well, probably going to jump back into the healing brush as well, but yeah, let's just go ahead and smoothen out the skin. So this one, again, texture is around 75, 80 usually. And then sharpness, just maybe around the middle, 50. That's usually the two changes I make with the brush in order for me to edit the skin. All right, so just so I can see the image, again, I usually just play with either the exposure or something, temperature or whatever, just so I can see the difference, what I missed. Yeah, we can just jump over to the skin. Are we going to use the same settings? All right, I think the image is looking pretty good so far. Yeah, so skin is fine, color is fine. We are going to go ahead and touch up this background. So what I'm going to do for the background, I'm just going to try to find spots that I can heal, I guess. Spots like this, looks like it can be healed. All right, so I think I'm gonna leave the healing brush like this so far. And let's go over to our regular brush here. And I'm just gonna see what the texture does if I remove some of that. texture for sure, smoothing everything out, but it's kind of giving it that blurry look too. I'm gonna add sharpness to try to get some details back. It doesn't look too bad. I think I want to remove this big shadow over here. All right, I mean, so far this is the before and after. Not really liking the background edit that I did, but tried my best. Probably going to revert it back to default. Nah, I think we're okay. But yeah, anyways, that's about it. I'm probably gonna touch this up a little bit more, but for the most part, this is how I would finish up an image. Shout out to Khady for even allowing me to shoot her. She was having a skin reaction that day, but still wanted to shoot. We still got the shoot done. Shot came out pretty good. Hopefully you guys like the edit. If you do, definitely leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want, and definitely comment if you'd like as well. Let me know if you want to see more of these videos. Other than that, y'all have a good one.
Do you want to know how it is?